The story begins with a couple who notice that all their neighbors are leaving their homes as if the world is about to end. The next day, they look outside and see chaos everywhere. They themselves have no idea what's happening, but as a precaution, they decide to leave the city with their family, just like everyone else. Halfway through, they notice that everyone who is leaving the city is turning back. This causes Jason's family to get stuck in traffic. Soon, they notice that the military has completely blocked the road leading into the city. Soon, helicopters begin hovering overhead, announcing that a strange infection has suddenly spread in the city, affecting everyone in it, and everyone is being requested to return to their homes. Jason now understands that their town has been isolated, meaning their connection and path to the rest of the city has been cut off. While they were thinking about this, a rock-like object falls from the sky, creating a cloud of smoke. A short while later, fighter jets begin to fly overhead. Jason and his family watch as these jets blast their way into the city, destroying the entire city. Jason's wife, Death, understands that the military wants to destroy the town's people, not save them. If they had obeyed the guards and returned home, they would have been killed. After completely destroying the town, the jets move towards the streets. Seeing them, Beth takes her family and runs for their lives towards the hills, where she spots a school. Thanks to Pet's presence of mind and their escape, they escape the jets before they can even notice them. They quickly break open a door and hide inside. The door was heavy enough that they managed to close it, but they were still confused about what kind of virus had spread through the city, infecting everyone. Jason then tells him not to worry. Be thankful we have shelter for now. Jason and Beth begin to examine the entire bunker. There was plenty of food inside, but was all expired. They could eat it out of necessity, and with this food, they could easily survive in the bunker for at least 3 months. Beth listened lostly as Jason explained this to Beth, deeply distressed. She had cut her hand while closing the door, and she was now worried she might be infected too. Jason consoles her and says, "Nothing happened to you," after which they set about finding candles and lighting the area. Life in this bunker was vastly different from life outside. A week, 2 weeks, even several weeks would pass, and these people would remain confined inside. To pass the time, they would play games and eat expired food. Jason and Beth were adults, and they could understand. But their daughter was becoming increasingly distressed. She asked Jason, "Dad, how much longer do we have to stay here?" But Jason had no answer. He would brush her off with a question. There was also a reflective mirror inside this temple, which his daughter would often use to look outside. But in all these days, she hadn't seen a single human or animal in sight. Even the leaves on the trees had burned. One day, she became so scared that she asked her parents, "Mom, Dad, are we the only ones left alive?" At this point, Jason calms her down, closes her eyes with 2 fingers, and tells her to relax. "Like us, your friends must be hiding somewhere." Their daughter gets hungry, and when she goes to get food, she finds a hole in the back of their can, and the food is missing. These cans appear to be all empty. They find 12 empty cans, and they realize that rats had entered their bunker from somewhere and eaten their food for 12 days. Jason tells Beth and his daughter to calm down and stay there. "That's nothing to worry about. If the food runs out, I'll go out of the bunker and get more." While they were eating, they heard the same sound from behind. They saw the rat talking so loudly that Jason grabbed a knife and stood up to kill it. But this rat was running much faster than normal rats. Jason couldn't catch it. Now, the path they were taking, they were on their way. Beth, noticing the path as it was passing by, stands in front of it and finally catches the rat. Before they can celebrate, they smell kerosene from behind and realize that the rat had knocked over their lamp while passing by. Before they can do anything, the lamp explodes, igniting a fire. It seemed as if they would lose their last refuge. The fire was raging rapidly. Jason quickly tries to extinguish it by pouring water from the tap, but the flames continue to rage. Beth throws a cloth on the fire, and after a long struggle, they manage to extinguish the flames. But then they notice that their daughter is nowhere to be found. They are frightened again, and then they realize that she had hidden under a bag in fear. Just as they were overcoming this tension, Jason noticed another problem. The smoke from the fire was escaping through the duct, which could reveal their location to anyone. He becomes extremely frightened. He tries to prevent the smoke from escaping through the duct, but his efforts prove futile. They spend the entire night in fear, but no one notices them. Everything was over. But in the morning, they woke up and saw that the burnt ashes had fallen outside their bunker, posing a risk of someone seeing them. So, Jason and Beth decide to go outside to clean up the drug. Their daughter was supposed to stay inside and wait for them. The entire day passes. Jason and Beth do not return. Their daughter becomes even more worried. Several times during the day, she had seen her mom and dad working nearby through the reflective mirror. Now, when she looked out through the reflective mirror, her dad was working and a shadow was moving towards them from the forest behind. She screamed for help and to tell her father about the monster, but her father couldn't hear her, and she was forced to leave the bunker, worried about her mom and dad. Upon emerging, she couldn't see either of them. She was terrified that the monster had caught them. She was frantically searching for them, screaming for them, when suddenly 2 hands grabbed her from behind. It was her mother, who was holding a hand over her mouth, and her dad was also nearby. They had also sensed the monster, which is why they were hiding. As soon as the monster passed the bunker door in search of them, they wasted no time and returned inside. Jason tried to secure the door with a chain, but fear eluded them as heavy footsteps still echoed from the top of the bunker. Beth's daughter begins to cry in fear, and Beth reassures her, "Look, nothing will happen. As long as we're inside, we're safe." Jason Ba, now seeing his daughter in a state of panic, approaches her and, in his usual manner, closes her eyes with 2 fingers, explaining, "Look, our voices can attract them. Understand that if we make any sound, we'll die. So, relax and be quiet." Suddenly, the sound of those footsteps grows louder again, and they stop near the bunker door, passing over the ventilation duct. They're now terrified. Sweat glistens on Jason's forehead. Suddenly, the door to their bunker starts rattling loudly. The chains below start snapping, indicating that the monsters have discovered their shelter and will attack them at any moment. Before even the last chain breaks, they open. Beth, hanging from a chain, desperately tries to close the bunker with her weight, but the monster's strength was too much for her. Despite Beth's hanging, they open the bunker door and see 2 green, glowing eyes from outside. They can see nothing more. Fear grips them, and before the monsters can enter their bunker, Jason quickly breaks a pipe, bends it, and locks it in the bunker gate holder. Once the bunker is closed, they breathe a sigh of relief. They notice that the steps have moved away from their bunker. Still, Jason's hands are trembling with fear. They understand that the outside world isn't just a threat from the military who will kill them. The outside world is now filled with monsters as well. But surviving here might be even more difficult than before. It's gone. They were also afraid that once the monsters saw their bunker, they would come back again. Furthermore, rats had started to creep into their bunker, causing them to run out of food. Just as they were thinking about this, they heard the sound of footsteps again. Before they could approach the bunker door, several monsters suddenly opened the door with all their might and threw it aside. In horror, they stared at a multitude of glowing green eyes, all of them monsters. To keep the monsters away, Jason couldn't close the door, but he used his own strength to set it on fire to keep them from entering. However, he noticed the monsters were coming down as the fire was receding. Jason's daughter noticed a hidden exit inside a ventilation duct. Jason, risking his life, frees his daughter and then Beth by opening the trap. However, when he tries to escape, he gets trapped in the duct. The duct was too narrow for him. The monsters were only a few steps away, and Jason's arm was broken. Beth tried with all her strength to pull Jason out, but suddenly, monsters appeared from below, grabbed him by the leg, and pulled him down. Beth and her daughter watched, and Jason screamed at Beth to save her daughter and get her out of there. Beth and her daughter began running, only to find that all the paths ahead were blocked. Suddenly, the sound of helicopters was heard overhead. A light was shone on them, and a trap was suddenly thrown over them, trapping them. Soldiers came closer and examined them. It turned out these weren't monsters, but humans. Despite this, the soldiers neither released nor rescued them, but instead examined the blood from their necks, which was now black. This meant that both of them were infected with the same virus that had spread through the city. This revealed that the virus was actually airborne. Because of this, no one in the city was immune. There was no other medicine to eliminate or prevent the virus. This prevented humans from spreading it further. Therefore, the military was simply ordered to kill any infected person they saw on the spot. The soldiers decided to kill them both. Death screamed in anger, and we saw his transformed, monster-like form for the first time. The veins in his entire mouth were gone, and his eyes were terrifying. Before anything else could happen, Beth saw blood gushing from the neck of the soldier standing in front of her. It turns out that the person attacking her from behind was a body that had been evading the monsters at the time, but had now become one himself. Upon seeing him, all the other soldiers opened fire on him, ultimately killing him. But his sacrifice wasn't in vain. Meanwhile, Beth had escaped from the scene, saving her daughter. We then see them both hiding in the darkness. Beth had completely transformed into a monster, and her daughter began to cry. A soldier searching for them now confronts them, and Beth's daughter becomes enraged. The enraged spirit unleashes the monster within her. The veins in her face turn black, and she, too, transforms into a terrifying monster, only to be washed away after killing the soldier. Beth struggles to control her daughter and calms her down. We see that as their anger subsides, they return to normal. In fact, these people were infected from day one. But because they stayed in the bunker for so long and never got angry at anyone, we never got to see their monster side. It's shown that the soldier Beth's daughter attacked was also turning into a monster. Ignoring him, Beth and her daughter returned to Jason, who, despite being shot multiple times, was still wounded and about to die. He closes his daughter's eyes one last time in his special way and then dies. Just as they hadn't had enough of seeing them, they heard another helicopter The helicopters were searching for people here using their lights. Beth takes her daughter and starts running away to save them. And they finally find them in this very city. They find an underground bunker. They go inside and find a friend of Beth's. He leads them to a bunker where there were many other survivors like them. All of them were forced to hide in these bunkers to save their lives. They all knew they had become monsters, but none of them wanted to die before their time.